Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, we're doing the show that we love to do, which is the people in charge of college football refuse to let the focus be on college football. We have to talk about other stuff, but we're doing it. We're going to do it. We're sorry. We're very sorry. We know the season's right around the corner. We just did a show on predicting starters. We'll do much more. We know the Texas game is less than 2 weeks away, but the people in charge of college football, Tony, have made us do it. We're very sorry.
You're sorry. I love it. I love it. Of course, we are talking about the story coming out from Pete Thamel and Ross Dellinger about Tony Petitti floating out some ideas for a 24 or 28 team college football playoff. And I don't know if I've seen a more universally panned idea immediately on Twitter, sports-wise, than this one. Because even when people wanted to shut down the 2020 season, there are people in favor of that. So it's like here, I've not seen anybody in favor of this. And even me, who I am expand everything. Like I want more games. Even I look at 24 or 28. I'm like, guys, you're making me look bad here. It's like this. I don't think we should do this. Let's not talk about it. You're just using some language. I don't think we should do this. Tom, I know when you saw it, you were like, sign me up.
Yeah, you're paraphrasing there a little bit. And it was not exactly how I would characterize my view of it. It was much more like, number one, this is a terrible idea. Number two, just so everyone understands, they're not actually suggesting we do this. This is one of these. Is everyone familiar with the concept of the Overton window, which is basically like, here is the acceptable, span of dialogue for a specific topic. You hear this a lot in politics where, the range of acceptable debate is within these two positions. And then the people try and meet in the middle or, increasingly not meet in the middle. But, this is, the debate, the Overton window for the college football playoff was basically 14 teams or 16 teams. And is it the 4-4-3-3-1-2 or whatever that number was? Or is it the 5-11 model? And if you don't know what those are, it's essentially conferences have a guaranteed number of bids, or it's just the 5 conference champions and then 11 at large. And so that was sort of the Overton window of acceptable college football playoff dialogue before this all kind of leaked over the weekend. And the Big Ten was essentially outvoted more or less because the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12 were all sort of in favor of the 5-11 model. The Big Ten was in favor of the 4-4-3-3, whatever model. And we've talked about the why behind that before. If you want us to do this again, we can do it again. But, essentially the Big Ten was going to be outvoted. Because if the SEC has the other two on their side, they're going to win. So this is the Big Ten going, okay, what about if we do it way bigger and everyone gets more of everything and it's our preferred model, but everyone gets 2 more of everything and therefore it's better for everyone. What do you say? And it's not even that you're probably going to get people to do this, because this is, even in a sport that's changed from 4 to 12, 14 or 16 is a more logical leap as opposed to 24 or 28. This just feels like, well, what if we have the conversation about 28 and then that makes you realize that our idea for the 16 or the 14 is better than their idea, and we change your mind with that. We're not actually suggesting what we're suggesting.
I will take the side of Tony Petitti here and say that it only increases the playoff by 1 game. It only increases a 16-team playoff by 1 game for people. So by 1 round, basically. You've got, what are you suggesting? 28 teams. Now this tough pill to swallow here, Tom. 7 auto bids for the Big Ten. 7 for let me finish. 7 for the SEC. 5 each for the ACC and the Big 12. And then a couple of, 2 auto bids for the group of 6. and then like an at-large. Tom, come back. Don't just.
I'm just pulling out my pick six previews here to tell you the fifth team in the ACC is Florida State, projected this year, which is, that's they're coming off of a 2-10 season, which is very good. The
wins.
Seventh best team in the Big Ten projected this season, Nebraska, 26 overall. Yeah.
I've predicted Nebraska to make the playoffs. Well, Tom, let me help you with your argument here, because I did go through, and since 2016, I looked at who are the seventh place team in the Big Ten, like who they were and what their records were in conference.
How often was it Iowa? Because it feels like it was probably Iowa a lot.
Well, they're of the 8 years, because I didn't count 2020, and this only goes back to 2016. There are ties 5 of those 8 years, and I'm sure Iowa was in there, but last year it would have been 5-4 Michigan. These are conference records. 5-4 Michigan makes the playoffs.
Yep.
2023, 4-5 Maryland gets in there. And then the year before that, you've got a bunch of ties at 5-4. Then in 2021-ish or whatever, you've got a lot of, or 2019 maybe, 6-3. So the seventh place teams were tied at 6-3. So you're never going to see that again, probably. Then in 5-4 Iowa the year before that, 5-4, 4-5, 5-4. These are the teams that we're putting into the playoffs. But it's also not that different than the play-in games, which would have involved essentially 6 auto bids for the Big Ten and 6 for the SEC. If you consider the 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5 as being in the playoffs, this gets everybody and one more in from the Big Ten. I know you don't need 7 Big Ten teams in the playoff. This is a bridge too far, even for me. And if I'm saying that, Tony Petitti's people need to let him yes, calm down. But as you said, Tom, it's not like he's trying to get this, but he came from Major League Baseball, where they have long and drawn out playoffs. And so he's like, everybody loves Major League Baseball. It's America's pastime. Why wouldn't we do what America's pastime is doing and play more playoff games and, frankly, more games? We've got how many weeks? 52 weeks a year. Why aren't we playing twice a week? 3 times a week? Baseball does it 5 times a week.
Now, listen, you've put me in a very difficult spot here, because I don't want to suggest shrinking the Major League Baseball playoffs as a fan of the New York Mets, who are currently working very hard to test the boundaries of what it is to be a Major League Baseball playoff team. So I need to be very cautious with my words here. However, Major League Baseball in particular has the longest regular season in all of sports. So that's probably the sport where it least needs to be expanded, where you really, if you had just the top 2 teams, the top 4 teams, you generally were going to have the best teams in the playoffs and you would get the truest champion. Now you're at the point where everyone gets in and it's just like, who gets hot for 3 weeks? And that's the balance that you have to strike. Is if you expand it enough, then you have the team. I go back to, again, as a Mets fan, I go back to 2006 when the Mets had a fantastic season and they played a St. Louis Cardinal team that won, I think, 83 games in the regular season. And then the Cardinals got hot at the right time in the NLCS and beat the Mets, even though they were, 13 games worse or something like that in the regular season. And then ended up winning the World Series. And you can say the same thing about 1988. The Mets beat the Dodgers, I think 11 out of 12 games or 10 out of 11 games in the regular season. The Dodgers were a terrible team, but they had Oral Hershiser and they got hot in the playoffs. And then so you get these, it's just a matter of what are we doing? What are we trying to determine in terms of a champion? Is the champion supposed to be the team that was the best all season? Or is it supposed to just be who gets in and who gets hot? I mean, Ohio State just got in and got hot and won the championship. So, that's what the expansion from 4 to 12 does. You're going to have, more of that issue potentially if you expand the playoff more. I don't, some of the stuff with like Maryland being 4 and 5 in the Big Ten, Maryland wouldn't have been 7th in the Big Ten in an 18-team Big Ten. So they wouldn't have gotten in. The boundaries there are going to change a little bit, but the overall point remains, and I don't know, it's a fair point. that it's not that different in terms of like the reality of the situation, that if you have these play-in games, then you're playing in, and then so you're functionally in the college football playoff already, because if you just keep winning, you're in. But still, it feels to me like, yeah, but you shouldn't get to say that you're a playoff team then. It's a little like the NCAA tournament where it's like, well, we'll just keep expanding and then more teams can make it. And then, you're some sub 500 ACC team and you get to go play a game in Dayton, but you made the tournament. Like, man, that just doesn't feel right to me.
What if also then we also do play-in games for all of the Big Ten teams except for the first team, except for the regular season title. So then you've got like 2 versus, 14, 3 versus like 13. Tom, wouldn't that be great to play your way in and you have over a dozen of your conference's teams vying for the playoffs. Tom, I see you. Are you shutting down? Are you?
I'm emotionally not ready for the Northwestern Rutgers college football playoff play-in game. Like, college football is my favorite sport in the world. I love it. It's so stupid and it's run by idiots in so many ways, but also like, it has felt at times like the people in charge of college football have been trying to ruin things for quite a while now. But man, Northwestern Purdue college football playoff play-in game, that's the point where I'm kind of like, maybe we're good. Maybe this is too much college football. I am the guy who stays up for the Hawaii game on Saturday nights. Like, I am all for as much college football as we can get. That's kind of, I think, a bridge too far.
You could win a play-in game, but like not be allowed into the postseason because you only have 5 wins. It's like, sorry, you don't qualify for the postseason.
But
great
Tony,
regular
my
season.
APR, please.
No. So I did punch in the last year's rankings and conference champions to Chat GPT and said, hey, can you give me a bracket of what this would look like? And I'll go ahead and overlay that bracket now, Tom, because as you look at it, and when I looked at it, I was like, the tests that they make like psychotics do, like draw a clock and let's see what that clock looks like. And the person thinks their clock looks perfectly. And then you look at it, it's like, boy, this is crazy. This is not a clock at all. That's this bracket. And I just wanted to show it, not because of who's on it, but the way that ChatGPT thinks brackets need to be done. And boy, but what I want to point out is some of these games, I think, first 2018 playoff. So the first 4 teams get buys, right? So then it becomes eventually just a 24 team playoff type of thing. 5 versus 28. Ohio State at 5 versus 28 Syracuse in Ohio Stadium. And what Tony Petitti has suggested is two rounds on campus. Tom, you can't even hate on that. But you tell me Ohio State fans and the 30,000 Syracuse fans that would bombard Ohio Stadium wouldn't want to see Kyle McCord back in Ohio Stadium.
Carrier Southwest, they're calling it, the stadium on the banks of the Olentangy. Yes, I have some questions about this bracket, such as number 27 Florida State and what the criteria was to get a 2-10 Florida State team to number 27 in the country. But that's fine. This is not the craziest thing the committee's ever done. But yeah, you can look at this and it's like, yeah, there's some interesting matchups here. Like Michigan going to Boise. Like, yeah, man, I would love even a bad Michigan team from last year going to Boise. I would pay to watch that. Like Michigan go to Boise in December. Yeah, that would be a fascinating game. Indiana, Colorado. Sure. Guess what? People are going to watch it. 2 of the most talked about teams in college football last year. South Carolina going to Provo, Utah. Yeah, sign me up. Alabama going to Ames, Iowa. Yeah, sign me up. There's plenty of really interesting games on here. Again, it's not great for the sport, and it really renders the regular season extraordinarily meaningless, where you can go, 7-5 and probably make the bracket anyway. That's not great for the rest of the season. And, you certainly do have to take that into account, that it renders if you're a team that goes into the season with like 4 potentially losable games on their schedule and you can get in at 8-4, well, then that means the regular season really doesn't have a whole lot of meaning. It's just you're playing for seeding. So again, not a great idea. And I think this does sort of drive home the point that yes, this is too many teams. I don't think North Carolina State or Colorado or Syracuse really probably needs to be playing in the national championship bracket there. I would probably also submit that ChatGPT probably needs to include some more non-power teams in that bracket. Wouldn't mind seeing like a Tulane in there or an Army, something like that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, it's a good thing, Tony, that I don't think anyone actually believes this is a good idea.
I will say, and I said this on Twitter the other day, stop using ChatGPT to research your sports stuff. And that's just sports stuff, because we know how wrong that is with sports and stats. I'm terrified of the people who use it for like actual stuff and think that it's real. So yes, I don't know how Florida State got in there. Army is in there at 17. They would go to Missouri, but then the winner of that, being Army, would then go to play Oregon and Outson Stadium. And you wouldn't want to see that, Tom. Again, I think if you think about this and you look at it, you might actually come around to really, really hating it a little bit less, but not enough to ever like it.
Yeah, in the words of the original Vacation and the Family Truckster, if you think you hate it now, just wait till you drive it. That feels a lot like this bracket. It was, the Georgia and Army were sort of overlaid in the way I'm looking at it. So yes, I did not see that Army was in there. Like, yeah, man, Army going on the road to play Missouri, yes, that would be very interesting. You know when you could do that? In the regular season. That's a thing you can do in the regular season. That would be a great way to do it. Like, let's have that happen. I mean, I know you can say like, why would an SEC team play a team from the Northeast in, potentially a home and home situation? Tony, do you know where Oklahoma is playing this season? A regular season game?
Tell me.
At Temple. Yes. Extremely same. Yeah. So, you can do this. You can play these games in the regular season. And frankly, it would be really interesting to see some of these non-power teams get a chance to host a home and home against some of these power teams. Like, even you want to play it in Giant Stadium or something? Yeah, sure. That's fine. Go do that. That's sorry, it's MetLife Stadium now. Sorry, I'm dating myself. But yeah, go play it in a big stadium so you can't say, whoa, we need more seats. That's fine. Great. Go by all means do that. Like, you can do that now, and you would get all the benefit of the interesting games without the negative of this renders the regular season completely meaningless. But no one wants to do that. So
yeah, I will say Colorado at Indiana as a first round game. Who knows what Kurt Signetti would say about that matchup and about Deion Sanders? I think that would be interesting. Real quick on why ChatGPT chose these teams regarding the ACC standings. It said, SMU finished 8-0 in league play. Clemson won the ACC championship. Miami, NC State, FSU were next best. And then later on at the at-large section, it said, highest rated non-autos from 2025's final board, Notre Dame and Syracuse. So they don't even have Syracuse in the ACC. That's how unimpressive Syracuse has been of late, I guess.
They don't even have they don't even have Notre Dame in the ACC, which is, we all know. Like, really.
So there you go. Yes, this is very much why don't we have Skittles and ice cream for dinner? It's like, no, you're crazy. Okay, how about omelets? Like, how about breakfast for dinner instead of candy and ice cream? And see, breakfast for dinner doesn't sound nearly as bad, does it? And so we'll see if this ploy by Tony Petitti does anything, or is just one of these things that were overblown by the national reporters. And then, not that they're overblowing it, they're just putting it out there, but they knew it was not going to be well received. But I'm sure so did Tony Petitti. Although, you know what? We'll find out if this is going to happen once the SEC starts talking about it. Maybe the SEC coaches love it, and they'll be like, yes, sign us up, because you give us this, that's even better than 5 and 11. And we don't have to play 9 conference games, right? Is that still right? Then, of course, we'll take this. But I don't expect that to happen. Tom, anything else before we go?
No, I just think the only thing that's going to make this appealing at all to coaches is the fact that then you can say, well, we made the playoff. And then more coaches can say, we made the playoff. It's like, why are the only people on earth in favor of NCAA tournament expansion college basketball coaches? Because then you can say, well, we made the tournament. You can't fire me now. And that's, that. So you have some self-interest. Moral hazard is the technical term for that, where your self-interest is at odds with everyone else's self-interest. That's sort of the why behind why anyone would support this idea that, well, hey, we made the tournament. You can't fire me now. And so unless you were a college football coach, that does not apply to you. So you should be able to look at this and go, hey, that's stupid, and move on.
Well, it could eventually apply to college football coaches. If college basketball expands again, at some point, like the first four in are just going to be like football teams. And so then if you're a coach who not only took their football team to the football playoffs, but also the basketball playoffs, how can you possibly fire me? And so there you go. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Hit the thumbs up if you could, if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, you can continue to find us on any podcast platform of your choosing, as well as BuckeyeHuddle.com. If you have not signed up yet, please do so. We've got a big season coming, as you know. Season is right around the corner. We are talking about it on the Buckeye Huddle message board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus. So check us out there. We would appreciate it. Love seeing you there. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you all later.